Welcome to Forgotten History Daily. I am William, and tonight we journey into one of history's most fascinating and darkest stories. It's a tale that exposes the depths of government deception and the exploitation of human psychology, all under the guise of national security. But before we begin, let me ask you, did you know that in 1955, the Central Intelligence Agency began secretly experimenting on unsuspecting American citizens with a form of mind control so sinister? Specifically, they used psychoactive drugs to manipulate and erase memories, essentially turning people into unwitting human lab rats. These clandestine experiments, known as MKUltra, were the brainchild of CIA Director Allen Dulles, who saw potential in harnessing the power of hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and lobotomy techniques. The program was shrouded in secrecy, with agents using fake company names and phony research institutions to recruit unwitting participants. They even went so far as to use medical cover stories, administering placebos or real psychoactive substances like LSD, amphetamines, and heroin without informed consent. But MKUltra wasn't just about creating psychic assassins. It was also an attempt to explore the boundaries of human consciousness. Researchers would subject volunteers to prolonged periods of sensory deprivation, hoping to induce states of trance-like susceptibility. They'd monitor brainwaves with electroencephalograms, believing they could pinpoint specific frequencies associated with mind control. As we delve into this dark chapter in American history, we'll uncover the lives of some of the unwitting participants. Frank Olson, a CIA scientist who died under mysterious circumstances after being administered LSD. We'll also examine the cover-ups, from destroyed documents to disinformation campaigns, all designed to conceal the truth about these sinister experiments. Tonight on Forgotten History Daily, we invite you to join us as we unravel the tangled threads of MKUltra, a story that raises fundamental questions about government accountability, individual autonomy, and the ethics of science. As we explore the lives of those who were unwittingly caught up in MKUltra, one name stands out: Frank Olson, a CIA scientist at the agency's Biological Warfare Division. Olson was a 43-year-old husband and father of two when he met his untimely demise. In 1953, Olson was part of a secret experiment to test the effects of LSD on human subjects. He was given a dose of 250 micrograms, about 30 times the usual therapeutic amount, without his knowledge or consent. What happened next is shrouded in mystery. According to official reports, Olson suffered severe psychological trauma after being administered the LSD, and was subsequently taken to a hospital where he died 3 days later from an alleged accidental overdose. The CIA claimed that Olson had been suffering from paranoid delusions and was a danger to himself and others. But questions persist about the circumstances surrounding Olson's death. His and colleagues have long disputed the official story, pointing out inconsistencies in the agency's account. It wasn't until 1975, after years of lobbying by Frank Olson's widow, that the CIA released its files on the experiment. These documents revealed a disturbing pattern of manipulation and deceit, including the use of placebos, withholding of information from participants, and destruction of evidence. Another victim of MKUltra was Harold Blauer, a pharmaceuticals executive who died in 1953 under circumstances eerily similar to Olson's. Blauer had been recruited by the CIA for an experiment at the Army's Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland, where researchers were testing the effects of various psychoactive compounds on human subjects. According to internal documents, Blauer was given a high dose of pyribenzamine, a derivative of amphetamine, as part of his participation. He died several hours later from what was initially reported as an accidental overdose. But subsequent investigations revealed that the true cause of death was likely related to the experimental compound itself. The CIA's investigation into Blauer's death found that the experiment had been poorly designed and inadequately monitored, raising further questions about the ethics of MKUltra. Meanwhile, Marianne Vecchio's story is a poignant reminder of the long-term impact of these experiments on individuals and families. As the daughter of an unwitting participant in MKUltra, Marianne grew up with her father struggling to come to terms with his own traumatic experiences as part of the program. In 1965, while still in her teens, Marianne witnessed her friend Jeffrey Miller being killed during the Kent state protests. The graphic nature of the event, a National Guardsman shooting a student protester point blank in the head, has become one of the most enduring images of American civil unrest. Marianne's story also intersects with that of MKUltra through her father, Michael Vecchio, who had connections to the CIA and was likely recruited as part of an experiment. The exact nature of his involvement remains unclear, but it is known that he suffered from severe mental health issues for many years after being subjected to MKUltra. As we continue our exploration of MKUltra, we'll examine the cover-ups, disinformation campaigns, and systematic destruction of evidence that characterize the program's attempts to conceal its true purpose. We'll also delve into the aftermath of MKUltra, including congressional investigations, lawsuits, and demands for accountability from those responsible. Tomorrow, on Forgotten History Daily, we'll explore the government's response to the controversy surrounding MKUltra and what it reveals about the ethics and accountability of scientific inquiry in the service of national. It's the 1950s in America, a time of great optimism and prosperity. The country is still basking in the glow of World War II victory, with a sense of invincibility that comes from being on top of the world. But beneath the surface, something sinister is brewing. It's an era when conformity is king, and anyone who dares to challenge the status quo is seen as unpatriotic. The Cold War is heating up, with the Soviet Union posing a threat to American values and way of life. And it's in this climate of fear and paranoia that the CIA begins to secretly experiment on unwitting Americans. The year is 1953, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower has just taken office. He's a military man, a veteran of World War II, and he's deeply concerned about the spread of communism. But little does he know, his government agency is embarking on a series of experiments that will make even the most hardened Cold Warrior blush. Meet Sidney Gottlieb, a soft-spoken chemist with a passion for mind control. He's just been appointed head of the CIA's Technical Services Division, and he has a vision to develop a substance that can control people's minds. Sounds like science fiction, doesn't it? But this is America in the 1950s, land of the free, home of the brave, and secret government experiments. Gottlieb's got a problem. The Soviet Union has developed a mind control serum called Compound MK, and he wants to create something similar. He starts by experimenting on unwitting subjects, using substances like LSD and mescaline. But these aren't just any ordinary people. They're American citizens, living their lives in the suburbs, working 9-to-5 jobs. As Gottlieb's experiments progress, he begins to notice something strange. His subjects are experiencing vivid hallucinations, hearing voices that aren't there, and some of them even start to exhibit violent behavior. He thinks he's on the brink of a break, but what he's really unleashed is a Pandora's box. MKUltra, as it comes to be known, is just the beginning. The CIA starts experimenting with radiation, hypnosis, and other forms of psychological manipulation. They're convinced that by controlling people's minds, they can break down barriers between nations and prevent the spread of communism. But their methods are unorthodox, to say the least. Meet Frank Olson, a chemist who works for the Army at Fort Detrick in Maryland. He's involved in some of the earliest MKUltra experiments, testing LSD on unwitting subjects. Olson becomes increasingly uneasy with what he's seeing and begins to speak out against the project. In 1953, Olson is given a lethal dose of LSD without his knowledge or consent. He dies under serious circumstances, sparking a national outcry over government secrecy. The incident marks a turning point for MKUltra, but not before more experiments are conducted in secret. The MKUltra program grows exponentially over the next decade, with agents testing substances on everything from cats to humans. They're pushing the boundaries of human experimentation. But at what cost? The government is hell-bent on keeping this all under wraps, but whispers begin to circulate among those who've been experimented upon. Ian Cameron, a Canadian psychiatrist with ties to MKUltra, he's experimenting with sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and lobotomies. Basically, he's trying to wipe people's minds clean. But his subjects are not just test tubes, they're beings with families and lives. Can you imagine being a participant in one of these experiments, being strapped down, injected with LSD, and left to experience the darkest corners of your own mind? The government is hiding behind the guise of science, but what's really going on is a gross abuse of power. MKUltra would eventually involve over 150 institutions, including universities, hospitals, and even a psychiatric hospital in Montreal. It's estimated that hundreds of unwitting subjects were experimented upon, and many more were involved behind the scenes. The project comes to light in the late 1960s, but by then, it's too little, too late. The damage is done. People's lives have been irreparably changed. In 1975, a Senate committee led by Senator Frank Church publishes a scathing report on MKUltra and its affiliated projects. Today, we know that thousands of Americans were subjected to these experiments. We know that the government lied about it for decades, hiding behind secret clearances and bureaucratic jargon. But what do we really learn from this dark chapter in American history? Do we confront our darker impulses? Do we examine the lines between science and ethics? Or do we just sweep it under the rug, like so many other government secrets? The legacy of MKUltra serves as a stark reminder that even in the land of the there are those who would exploit our deepest fears for their own gain. And yet, amidst this chaos, there's a glimmer of hope. By shedding light on MKUltra, we expose the shadows of government secrecy and begin to build trust with those in power. Today, we can be thankful that MKUltra is no longer shrouded in darkness, but its legacy serves as a stark reminder, even in the most unlikely places, the line between freedom and control is. As the Senate committee's report on MKUltra was published, it sparked a national outcry and demands for accountability from those responsible for these atrocities. But like many government scandals, the story doesn't end there. The MKUltra experiments had already spawned numerous offspring, each with its own set of disturbing experiments. One such program, called Operation Midnight Climax, used brothels in San Francisco to lure unsuspecting men involved of mind control and psychological manipulation. Prostitutes were paid to lure these men to their establishments, where they would be given LSD and other psychoactive substances without their knowledge or consent. The goal was to study the effects of these substances on human behavior, but the true extent of the abuse is still shrouded in secrecy. Another program, called MK Search, involved the use of hypnosis and sensory deprivation to erase memories and implant false ones. This was part of a larger effort to create super soldiers capable of withstanding intense physical and psychological stress without succumbing to mental breakdowns. The government claimed that these experiments were necessary for national security, but critics argue that they were simply an excuse for the abuse of power. Meanwhile, MKUltra's effects continued to ripple outward, affecting not just those who had been experimented upon directly, but also their families and communities. Many struggled with anxiety, depression, and even PTSD as a result of their experiences, while others reported feeling forever changed by the trauma they endured. In the years following the Senate report, there were numerous lawsuits filed on behalf of MKUltra victims, seeking compensation for the harm they had suffered. Some cases made it to court, but many were dismissed due to the government's claims of national security and its refusal to release key documents related to the program. One notable exception was a lawsuit brought by a woman named Carol Carlson, who claimed that she had been subjected to hypnosis and other forms of mind control as part of MKUltra. Her case made it to court in 1987, where she testified about her experiences under cross-examination. The government argued that she was simply suffering from false memories. Carlson's testimony painted a vivid picture of the trauma she endured. Despite these efforts at accountability, many questions remain unanswered. What happened to those who were experimented upon? Did they receive any compensation or treatment for their injuries? And what about the officials and researchers involved in MKUltra? Did they face any consequences for their roles? As we delve deeper into this dark chapter of American history, one thing becomes clear. MKUltra was not an isolated incident, but rather a symptom of a broader cultural and societal disease. It was a product of a government that prioritized power and control over human rights and dignity. Today, reflect on the lessons of MKUltra. We are reminded that even in the most unlikely places, there are those who would exploit our deepest fears for their own gain. We see it in the rise of surveillance capitalism, where companies track our every move online to sell us targeted ads, in the spread of propaganda and disinformation on social media platforms, and in the increasingly militarized. The legacy of MKUltra serves as a warning about the dangers of unchecked power and the erosion of civil liberties. It reminds us that even in the most free societies, there are those who would use their influence to manipulate and control others for their own purposes. As we move forward into an uncertain future, it's essential to remember the lessons of MKUltra, to question authority, to challenge the status quo, and to protect human rights above all else. Only by confronting our darker impulses can we hope to create a more just and equitable society. One where individuals are treated with dignity and respect, not exploited for the benefit of those in power. The CIA's secret experiments on unsuspecting Americans would continue for another decade, but the writing was already on the wall. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson established the Church Committee to investigate allegations of government wrongdoing, including MKUltra. The committee's findings were nothing short of explosive. Over a period of 5 years, from 1953 to 1958, the CIA had experimented on at least 80 Americans using LSD. The Church Committee's report was not just a critique of the CIA's actions. It was also a scathing indictment of the culture that allowed such experiments to take place. The committee's chair, Senator Frank Church, would later state, "There were people who were subjected to these experiments without their consent. These people suffered physically and mentally, and some were badly damaged." But despite this revelation, many of those responsible for MKUltra escaped accountability. Some were reprimanded or demoted, but none faced any serious consequences. The CIA's director at the time, Alan Dulles, would go on to become a key player in the Watergate scandal under President Richard Nixon. As the years passed, more details about MKUltra began to emerge. In 1995, the CIA released over 16,000 pages of declassified documents related to the program, including files on some of the most notable experiments. One document revealed that the agency had tested a new form of hypnosis, as Mandela, which involved inducing deep relaxation and amnesia in subjects. But it wasn't just the CIA's actions that raised questions. What about those who were experimented upon? Where did they go after their time in the program was over? The answer, unfortunately, is often a tragic one. Many of those who participated in MKUltra were left with long-term psychological damage, including anxiety disorders, depression, and even PTSD. In some cases, individuals who had been used as test subjects for MKUltra began to experience strange symptoms, flashbacks, nightmares, and feelings of disconnection from reality. These symptoms were often dismissed by their doctors or attributed to other causes, but the fact remains that many of these people were left scarred by the experiments. One such individual was Don Lively, a former soldier who had been recruited for MKUltra's sleep-inducing agent experiment. Decades later, Lively would recall being given LSD without his knowledge or consent, and being left to suffer from flashbacks and nightmares for years afterwards. His case is just one of many that highlights the human cost of government secrecy. As we continue to grapple with the legacy of MKUltra, it's essential to confront the broader societal implications of this program. What does it reveal about our willingness to sacrifice individual rights in the name of national security? How does it reflect a culture that prioritizes control over compassion? In many ways, MKUltra represents a dark mirror image of American values, a society that prides itself on freedom and democracy, yet engages in secretive experiments on its own citizens. It's a sobering reminder that even in the most free societies, there are always those who seek to exploit our fears and manipulate us for their own purposes. Today, as we confront the dangers of government overreach and corporate exploitation, we must remember the lessons of MKUltra, that unchecked power can lead to unspeakable horrors, that human rights must be protected. Only by confronting our darker impulses can we hope to create a more just and equitable society, one where individuals are treated with dignity and respect, not exploited for the benefit of those in. Welcome to Forgotten History Daily, where we delve into the lesser-known stories of the past that have shaped our world today. Today, we're going to explore a tale of government secrecy, psychological manipulation, and the dark side of scientific experimentation. It's a story that's both shocking and disturbing, yet ultimately fascinating in its complexity. So let's begin our journey into the heart of one of the most infamous secrets of the 20th century, MKUltra. In the early 1950s, the Cold War was heating up. The United States was locked in a struggle with the Soviet Union for ideological and strategic supremacy. And within the corridors of power in Washington, a sense of urgency had taken hold. How could the Americans possibly keep pace with their communist adversaries? One way to gain an edge, it was thought, was through the manipulation of human behavior, specifically the minds of potential enemies. Now, this might sound like something out of a science fiction novel, but what's little known is that the CIA had already begun experimenting with ways to control and manipulate people's thoughts, emotions, and actions. And they were recruiting experts from some of the most unlikely places: psychology departments, research institutions, and even the fringes of academia. Meet Sidney Gottlieb, a brilliant chemist who would become the mastermind behind MKUltra. Born in 1918 in Brooklyn, New York, Gottlieb had a PhD in chemistry and a passion for the unknown. He joined the CIA's Technical Services Division in the late 1940s, where he quickly rose through the ranks, drawn to the darker corners of human psychology. Around this time, the CIA had established a small group known as the Clandestine Services, tasked with infiltrating and gathering intelligence from behind enemy lines. It was a clandestine world, indeed, one that relied on cover-ups, lies, and deceit. And it's here that Gottlieb first caught the attention of his bosses. In 1951, the CIA began secretly funding a set of research projects into psychochemical warfare. This involved experimenting with mind-altering substances like LSD, mescaline, and even the newly discovered chlorpromazine, all in the name of understanding how these chemicals could be used to manipulate. Gottlieb, it seems, was the perfect man for this job. He brought a passion for chemistry, an intelligence for psychology, and an unorthodox approach to research. As we'll soon see, his experiments would push the boundaries of ethics and human decency. The CIA set up its first MKUltra base in Montreal, Canada, a clever move given the ease with which they could operate beyond American jurisdiction. Here, Gottlieb recruited several experts from McGill University's psychology department, including some who would later become unwitting pawns in his experiments. It was November 1951 when the first human trials began. The subjects were mostly unsuspecting civilians, young men and women, plucked from Montreal streets or recruited through word of mouth. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into. Many were paid minimal wages for participating in psychological studies. Little did they know that they would become unwitting test subjects for the world's most potent mind control substances. As we'll explore further on, MKUltra was divided into several key sub-projects, each tackling a different aspect of psychochemical manipulation. These included Sub-Project Bluebird, focused on interrogation, techniques using sensory deprivation and hypnosis, Sub-Project Artichoke, targeting the development of brainwashing methods, and, of course, over the next 2 decades, Gottlieb would continue to MKUltra, recruiting top talent from around the world, experimenting with an arsenal of mind-altering substances, and testing their limits on countless. But what drove him? What was he after? Was genuine desire to protect America's national security? Or did Gottlieb have his own motivations, perhaps driven by ambition, curiosity, or even some personal demons? We'll never know for certain. What we do know is that the government took MKUltra very seriously. They were spending millions of dollars each year on this clandestine program, with officials like CIA Director Allen Dulles keeping a close eye on Gottlieb's progress. As the Cold War raged on, the world outside began to take note of these experiments. Journalists and lawmakers started sniffing around, sensing that something was amiss, but the government continued to deny any wrongdoing or even existence of MKUltra for that matter. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, we're just beginning our journey into this shadowy world of mind control. Next time on Forgotten History Daily, we'll delve deeper into the lives of those who suffered under Gottlieb's experiments and explore the aftermath of MKUltra when it was finally exposed to the world. But for today, let's remember that this is a story about human psychology, about what happens when our darkest fears are exploited, manipulated, and pushed beyond the limits of morality. What would you do if someone could control your thoughts? Would you ever be able to trust anyone again? Welcome back next time on Forgotten History Daily, where we'll continue exploring this gripping tale of deception and psychological experimentation. As the years went by, Gottlieb's experiments continued to push the boundaries of human psychology. He became increasingly obsessed with the concept of programming individuals to carry out tasks with conscious knowledge or control. In essence, he was trying to create a new breed of mindless drones, loyal only to the CIA and willing to do whatever it took to advance American interests. One of his most notorious experiments involved using LSD on unwitting college students. Under the guise of a medical study, Gottlieb's team administered massive doses of the powerful hallucinogen, observing as their subjects descended into chaos. Some reported experiencing visions of apocalyptic landscapes, while others became catatonic and remained frozen in place for hours. Meanwhile, back at CIA headquarters, officials were growing increasingly concerned about the program's PR implications. As media scrutiny began to mount, they realized that MKUltra was starting to become a liability. Gottlieb's methods had sparked outrage among some of the agency's most senior personnel, who were beginning to question whether the ends justified the means. But Gottlieb remained undeterred. He saw himself as a pioneer in a new field, one that would revolutionize the art of espionage and CIA an unparalleled edge over its enemies. His vision was grandiose, to create a world where humans could be manipulated like puppets on strings, pulled by invisible masters. One of Gottlieb's most prized projects was Operation Midnight Climax, a sub-program aimed at testing the effects of LSD on unsuspecting subjects. He rented an apartment in San Francisco and began using prostitutes to lure men into the trap. The women would dose their marks with LSD, then monitor their reactions as they descended into madness. The experiment's architects claimed that this was all being done in the name of national security, but it soon became clear that Gottlieb had a far more sinister agenda in mind. He wanted to create an army of unwitting spies, individuals who would carry out tasks without ever realizing what was happening. It wasn't just individuals who were being experimented upon. However, Gottlieb's team also began experimenting on entire communities, using various forms of psychological manipulation to break down social cohesion and individual resistance. They created fake news stories, sowed discord among neighbors, and even conducted covert surveillance on local leaders, all under the guise of research. As MKUltra continued to spiral out of control, he was seen by some as a genius, pushing the boundaries of human psychology to unimaginable extremes. But others him with growing unease, sensing that something fundamental about humanity had been lost in his pursuit of power. The lines between reality and madness were beginning to blur, not just for Gottlieb's subjects, but also for those who claimed to be running the show. It was a world where nothing was as it seemed, and where the very fabric of human psychology was being torn apart. And yet, despite all this, MKUltra continued to thrive in the shadows. Millions more dollars were pumped into the program each year, fueling an ever-growing network of mind control experiments that stretched from coast to coast. The stakes were getting higher by the day, but one question remained. Who exactly was behind Gottlieb's grand design? Was he merely a pawn in a larger game, or did he have his own hidden agenda? The answer would remain forever shrouded in mystery, lost among the smoke and mirrors of MKUltra. But what we do know is that the consequences of these experiments continue to haunt us today, reminders of a dark chapter in American history where the very essence of human psychology was pushed beyond its limits. As we move forward into this shadowy world, one thing becomes clear. The fate of those who were experimented upon would be forever changed. Their experiences would leave scars that could never fully heal, scars that would ripple out across generations, leaving a legacy of trauma and pain in their wake. The government had created monsters, unwitting victims of its own making, and now it was up to them to confront the horrors they had unleashed. As the years passed, the scope of MKUltra expanded exponentially. Gottlieb's team at Fort Detrick worked tirelessly to perfect their mind control techniques, experimenting on countless subjects in the name of science. But with each new breakthrough came a growing sense of unease among those who knew what was really going on. Ian Cameron, a renowned psychiatrist and MKUltra collaborator, was one such individual. A Canadian doctor with a reputation for innovation, Cameron had developed a revolutionary technique called psychic driving, essentially a form of sleep deprivation designed to break down the subject's resistance and allow Gottlieb. But as Cameron delved deeper into his research, he began to experience strange side effects. His own brain became increasingly erratic, and he started to exhibit signs of paranoia and anxiety. Friends and colleagues grew concerned, sensing that something was terribly wrong, but they had no idea just how deep into the rabbit hole Cameron had fallen. We were doing things that we thought would be beneficial for society, Cameron later admitted in a rare interview. But in fact, we were creating monsters. One of those monsters was an American woman named Catherine G., who was subjected to Cameron's psychic driving experiments at his Montreal laboratory. On end, she was forced to endure sleep deprivation, isolation, and electroconvulsive therapy, all designed to break down her mental defenses and reprogram her thoughts. The results were nothing short of catastrophic. Catherine emerged from the laboratory a shell of her former self, haunted by nightmares and plagued by debilitating anxiety. Family later reported that she would often stare blankly into space for hours on end, unable to speak or respond to questions. It was as if they had erased her personality, said one relative, still trying to come to terms with the aftermath of MKUltra's experiments. But Catherine G's story is far from unique. Across the United States and Canada, there are countless others who suffered similar fates, their minds shattered by the very scientists who claimed to be advancing the boundaries of human psychology. As the years went by, whispers began to circulate about a possible government cover-up. Whistleblowers came forward with disturbing tales of MKUltra's activities, but they were quickly silenced or discredited by powerful forces within the establishment. Meanwhile, Gottlieb continued to work behind the scenes, shaping the course of American history from the shadows. His creation, a vast network of mind control experiments and unwitting test subjects, had taken on a life of its own. By the mid-1960s, MKUltra was in full swing, with hundreds of researchers and scientists working together to crack the code of human psychology. The government poured millions of dollars into the program each year, all under the guise of national security. But as the stakes grew higher, so did the risks. Gottlieb's team began to push the boundaries even further, experimenting on unsuspecting civilians, soldiers, and even children in their pursuit of ultimate control. And yet, despite it all, MKUltra remained shrouded in secrecy. The government maintained a tight grip on its activities, ensuring that the public never learned about the horrors unfolding in the shadows. That is, until 1975, when a congressional subcommittee led by Frank Church began to investigate allegations of government wrongdoing. As they dug deeper into the archives of MKUltra, they uncovered a disturbing tale of mind control experiments gone horribly wrong. We're talking about a domestic version of the Gestapo, Church warned in a public hearing, his voice dripping with disgust. The world was finally beginning to see the true extent of MKUltra's atrocities. But for those who had lived through it all, the pain and trauma would never truly fade away. The secrets that were exposed in 1975 were just the tip of the iceberg, a mere whisper of the horrors that lay hidden beneath the surface. As we continue to explore this dark chapter in American history, one thing becomes clear. The fate of those who suffered at the hands of MKUltra was forever changed. Their experiences would leave scars that could never fully heal, scars that would ripple out across generations, leaving a legacy of trauma and pain in their wake. In the shadows of the Cold War, a secret program was born. MKUltra, its code name, would change the course of history forever. This was an era where espionage and counterintelligence reigned supreme, and the lines between good and evil blurred. But what happened in the dark recesses of the Central Intelligence Agency's experiments on unsuspecting Americans? It began in 1953 with a simple request from the CIA director, Allen Dulles. He wanted to know if the agency could control the human mind. The idea seemed far-fetched, even to the most seasoned intelligence operatives, but was adamant. He assembled a team of experts, led by Dr. Flack. Sidney Gottlieb, to explore this new frontier. Gottlieb, a chemist and scientist, would become the mastermind behind MKUltra. His methods were unorthodox, often bordering on cruel. He believed that the human mind could be broken and rebuilt like a puzzle. But at what cost? The experiments would push the limits of human endurance, testing the boundaries of pain, fear, and trauma. The first targets were unwitting subjects, students, doctors, and even civilians who had no idea they were part of a secret government program. They were lured with promises of free medical treatment or paid for their participation. The catch? They'd be subjected to experiments that would leave them forever changed. One such victim was a young woman named Eileen Shea. In 1953, she was approached by an agency operative who promised her free dental work in exchange for participating in a study on new medical techniques. Unbeknownst to Shay, she was about to become. Gottlieb and his team were experimenting with LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. This potent hallucinogen would be used to break down Shay's mental defenses, rendering her vulnerable to suggestions and manipulation. The idea was that by pushing the boundaries of human psychology, they could unlock new methods for controlling the mind. Shay's first session involved being given a cocktail of LSD and other chemicals. Her screams still echo through the corridors of history, a haunting testament to the horrors inflicted upon her. As she descended into madness, Gottlieb watched with an unblinking gaze, scribbling notes on her every twitch and tremor. The agency would claim that these experiments were aimed at counteracting Soviet mind control techniques, a chilling reminder of the ideological battles being waged in the shadows. But what about the ethics? What about the humanity? In 1955, the MKUltra program expanded its scope, moving from basic research to more sinister applications. Gottlieb became increasingly obsessed with the idea that humans could be programmed like machines. His team began experimenting with hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and even radiation as a means of controlling the human mind. One MKUltra document reveals a chilling experiment. Subject 10 was strapped to an electroshock machine while being subjected to verbal abuse and manipulation. The goal was to break down their mental defenses, creating a blank slate for reprogramming. This was the darkest manifestation of Gottlieb's vision, the reduction of humanity to mere machines. As MKUltra continued to unfold, whispers began to circulate within the agency about its questionable ethics. But Dulles remained committed to the program, seeing it as a key component in the Cold War arsenal. In 1956, he signed off on a top-secret memo authorizing further experiments, a stark reminder that some secrets were too big for even the highest echelons of power. Meanwhile, Gottlieb's obsession with mind control only intensified. He became convinced that humans could be reduced to mere automatons through a combination of LSD, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation. His methods were becoming increasingly brutal, leaving countless victims scarred for life. One former MKUltra operative would later reveal the true extent of Gottlieb's experiments. We'd take people who had no idea what was happening, strap them to chairs, inject them with experimental drugs, and just watch as they descended into madness. These revelations would eventually rock the very foundations of the CIA. But for now, MKUltra continued to operate in the shadows. As the program progressed, Aline Shay's case became a landmark example of MKUltra's horrors. Her mental state had deteriorated so catastrophically that she was left institutionalized, a testament to the catastrophic consequences of playing with fire when it came to human psychology. The government would later deny any knowledge of these experiments, claiming they were ancient history and the documents lost in the archives of time. But we now know the truth. In 1977, the Church Committee's investigation into CIA abuses uncovered a trail of MK occults, leaving no doubt that this was indeed one of the darkest chapters in American history. Today, as we reflect on these events, it's difficult not to ask, how could something like this happen? What lies within the shadows of power that allows such atrocities to unfold? MKUltra serves as a stark reminder that even in the most advanced societies, the capacity for cruelty and control remains ever present. It's a haunting testament to the dangers of unchecked ambition, where the pursuit of knowledge can devolve into the exploitation of humanity. In 1963, MKUltra finally drew to a close, its experiments buried beneath a shroud of secrecy. The agency claimed it was due to budget constraints and safety concerns, but we know better. It was because the truth had become too unbearable, the cumulative weight of countless victims' suffering now bearing down on those responsible. As we wind down this journey into the heart of MKUltra, one question lingers. What lessons have we learned from these experiments? Have we truly distanced ourselves from the darker impulses that drove Gottlieb and his team? Or are we simply delaying the inevitable, allowing future generations to stumble blindly into new cycles of exploitation and use? The story of MKUltra serves as a haunting reminder of our capacity for evil, inviting us to question whether we've learned from history or merely forgotten its lessons. The shadows cast by these experiments will forever be etched into the annals of American history, a chilling reminder that even in the most enlightened societies, humanity is perpetually vulnerable to manipulation. And as the MKUltra program was shut down in 1963, the CIA attempted to destroy all records related to the project. However, this effort was only partially successful. In 1975, the Rockefeller Commission was established by President Gerald Ford to investigate alleged CIA wrongdoing. The Commission's report revealed that despite the official end of MKUltra, many of its experiments continue under other names and different locations. One such example is Project Artichoke, a program developed by the CIA in the late 1950s to perfect techniques for extracting information from unwilling subjects, using various methods of torture. The project's codename was derived from the artichoke plant, which the agency believed resembled the human brain. Project Artichoke continued many of MKUltra's objectives, including developing techniques for controlling human behavior through hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other forms of psychological manipulation. The Church Committee's investigation in 1977 also uncovered evidence that the CIA had secretly supported research on mind control at universities and institutions across the country. These grants were often shrouded in secrecy, with researchers working under pseudonyms or using coded language to describe their projects. The committee found that many of these studies involved experimenting on unwitting subjects, in mental patients, children, and even prison inmates. One notable example is the case of Barbara Collins, a young woman who was subjected to experiments by psychologist Dr. Donald Hebb at McGill University in Montreal. Collins was given LSD without her consent as part of a CIA-funded study, and she later reported experiencing severe psychological trauma, including hallucinations and a breakdown in her mental health. The MKUltra documents that emerged during the Church Committee's investigation revealed a disturbing pattern. Researchers were being funded by the CIA to experiment on vulnerable individuals while deliberately hiding the true nature. The committee concluded that these experiments had caused irreparable harm to many people, with some suffering long-term damage to their mental and physical health. In 1978, the US Senate passed the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which aimed to regulate government surveillance and intelligence gathering activities. While Pfizer introduced important safeguards for civil liberties, it also created a loophole that allowed the CIA to continue its secret experiments under the guise of national security. To this day, many questions about MKUltra. The exact number of victims is still unknown, as are the true extent and nature of the CIA's mind control experiments. Moreover, there is ongoing debate among historians and researchers about the impact of these events on modern society. Some argue that MKUltra laid the groundwork for future psychological warfare techniques used in military conflicts, such as Operation Northwoods or the use of enhanced interrogation tactics at Abu Ghraib. Despite these uncertainties, one thing is clear: the story of MKUltra serves as a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked power and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals for the sake of scientific curiosity. As we continue to grapple with the implications of this dark chapter in American history, it's essential to remember that even in the most advanced societies, there lies an ever-present risk of repeating the mistakes of the past. And as the MKUltra scandal unfolded, a disturbing picture emerged of the CIA's involvement with academic institutions and private research facilities. The agency had established a network of secret partnerships with universities, think tanks, and psychological laboratories to carry out its mind control experiments. These collaborations allowed the CIA to leverage the expertise of leading researchers in the field, while concealing their own role in the projects. One of the most notorious MKUltra partners was Dr. Ewan Cameron, a Canadian psychiatrist who had previously worked for the Canadian government's military intelligence agency. Cameron's laboratory at McGill University's Royal Victoria Hospital was one of the main sites where CIA-funded experiments were conducted. His research focused on developing techniques to erase and reprogram human memories using techniques like electroconvulsive therapy and sensory deprivation. Cameron's methods were brutal, and his subjects suffered immense physical and psychological trauma. Many of them reported experiencing vivid hallucinations, dissociation from reality, and a loss of identity. One of Cameron's patients, a young woman named Mary, recounted being subjected to multiple rounds of ECT while under anesthesia, followed by prolonged periods of sensory deprivation in isolation chambers. It was like being buried alive. She later testified before the church committee. "I couldn't even remember my own name or where I was. It felt like my mind was shattered into a million pieces." As MKUltra's reach expanded, so did its ambitions. Researchers began exploring ways to induce states of artificial hypnosis and create what they called Manchurian candidates, individuals capable of carrying out covert operations without conscious memory of their. The ultimate goal, some claimed, was to develop a super soldier program that would enable the CIA to harness the full potential of human mental and physical capabilities. But as researchers pushed further into the unknown, concerns grew within the agency about the ethics and feasibility of their experiments. Some argued that MKUltra's focus on manipulation and control had led to reckless disregard for human life and dignity. Others expressed skepticism about the practical applications of these techniques in real-world operations. One high-ranking CIA official, James Angleton, is reported to have questioned the morality of MKUltra, saying, "We're playing God here. We're meddling with forces we don't fully understand. What if our subjects end up like that poor woman who's been a prisoner of war for 10 years? How do we undo what we've done?" Despite these reservations, the CIA continued to pour millions into MKUltra, fueling a research and development machine that seemed more focused on demonstrating its capabilities. As a result, countless lives were forever altered by these experiments, and the shadows of MKUltra continue to haunt America's psyche. The full scope of MKUltra's impact still lingers in the realm of speculation. Were there any successful instances of creating super soldiers or perfecting mind control techniques? Or did the agency abandon its ambitions as concerns about ethics and effectiveness grew? Some researchers have claimed that the CIA adapted its focus to more covert forms of psychological warfare, like propaganda and disinformation. However, one thing is certain: MKUltra serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power, scientific curiosity taken too far, and the importance of safeguarding human rights in the shadowy world of espionage, where secrets are currency and deception is an art form. There existed a program so sinister it would make even the most seasoned thriller writers blush. MKUltra, a covert operation orchestrated by the Central Intelligence Agency, would push trees of human psychology, ethics, and morality to its very limits. The year was 1953, and the Cold War was in full swing. The CIA, under the helm of Director Allen Dulles, was on a mission to stay one step ahead of their Soviet counterparts. With the rise of communist ideology across Eastern Europe, Washington's fearmongers were convinced that mind control techniques would be the ultimate game changer in the battle for global supremacy. The project's birth is often attributed to Sidney Gottlieb, a brilliant but unassuming chemist and CIA operative who had been experimenting with psychoactive substances since World War II. Gottlieb's research into hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and lobotomy had already caught the attention of CIA officials, who saw potential in harnessing his expertise for more enlightened purposes. Under the codename MKUltra, the program would secretly recruit unwitting participants from various walks of life: students, housewives, and even homeless individuals. These unsuspecting Americans would be subjected to a series of psychological manipulation techniques, including sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and intoxication with LSD, amphetamines, and other hallucinogenic. The program's objectives were twofold. First, to perfect the art of brainwashing, a term borrowed from Chinese communist propaganda, and second, to create the ultimate soldier. MKUltra operatives envisioned an army of mind-controlled operatives who could infiltrate enemy ranks, gather intelligence, or conduct covert operations without ever being detected. One of the earliest and most notorious experiments took place in 1953 at McGill University's psychiatric department, where a young psychiatrist named Ewan Cameron was conducting. Unbeknownst to his patients, Cameron had been secretly collaborating with Gottlieb and the CIA to develop techniques for erasing memories and inducing amnesia. Cameron's work focused on the sleep therapy method, inducing deep sleep through medication or sensory deprivation, followed by a series of hypnosis sessions aimed at reprogramming the subconscious. This was a radical departure from conventional psychotherapy, but the results were tantalizing. Patients began exhibiting signs of complete memory loss and personality fragmentation. CIA documents reveal that Cameron's work with MKUltra led to the recruitment of numerous unsuspecting participants, many under the guise of participating in medical experiments or receiving psychological treatment. Cameron's patients were often told they were undergoing treatment for conditions like schizophrenia or anxiety, but behind closed doors, he was unleashing an arsenal of chemicals on his subjects, including the infamous LSD, which he used to induce states of deep relaxation before hypnosis sessions. These experiments pushed the boundaries of human endurance and led to irreversible psychological damage. MKUltra's network expanded rapidly in the late 1950s, incorporating a number of prominent American universities and research institutions into its clandestine operations. At Harvard University's Department of Psychology, for example, Dr. George Estabrooks, an expert on hypnosis and mind control, was collaborating with Gottlieb to develop techniques for hypnotic suggestions. Esther proposed the concept of instant personality change, using hypnosis to reprogram individuals into completely different personas within minutes. His theories were radical, but they resonated deeply with MKUltra operatives seeking a foolproof method for creating pliable, obedient agents. Meanwhile, CIA scientists were working on perfecting new psychoactive substances to aid in their experiments. One of the most notorious was lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD-25, which was isolated from ergot alkaloids found in certain fungi. Gottlieb and his team saw enormous potential in this potent hallucinogen for disrupting an individual's mental state. MKUltra operatives experimented with administering massive doses of LSD to unwitting participants, observing the devastating effects on their psyche as they descended into madness. It's estimated that hundreds of people, many without their knowledge or consent, were subjected to MKUltra's mind control techniques during this period. But the true extent of the program's horrors remains a closely guarded secret to this day. One disturbing case involves the tragic tale of a young woman known only as Margaret. Story surfaced in a declassified CIA document from 1963, revealing that Margaret had been administered massive doses of LSD. The document describes how Margaret would experience terrifying hallucinations, unable to distinguish reality from fantasy. She became withdrawn and paranoid, eventually succumbing to a complete breakdown under the influence of prolonged sensory deprivation. As MKUltra continued to expand its operations across North America, a disturbing aspect emerged. the infiltration of respected American institutions by CIA operatives. These clandestine agents would often pose as academics or scientists, gathering intelligence on their colleagues while maintaining their cover as researchers. One such individual was Dr. Harold Wolff, a prominent neuroscientist at Columbia University who had become embroiled in MKUltra's inner workings. Documents reveal that Wolff received substantial funding from the CIA for his work on the effects of stress on human physiology. But behind this facade lay a more sinister agenda. Wolff was secretly working with Gottlieb. The web of deceit spun by MKUltra operatives became increasingly complex, even among those within the organization. Internal memos suggest that some participants began questioning the ethics and morality of their work, only to be dismissed or blacklisted as disloyal. As public scrutiny intensified in the late 1973, President Richard Nixon ordered a thorough investigation into CIA abuses, including MKUltra. What followed was a litany of scandals and cover-ups that would shake the foundations of Washington. In 1975, the Church Committee released its explosive report on CIA activities, revealing the depth of MKUltra's transgressions against American citizens. It detailed how thousands had been subjected to inhumane experiments, often under false pretenses or with no knowledge of their participation. MKUltra was officially disbanded in 1973, but the repercussions lingered for decades. Whistleblowing forward, exposing a trail of deceit that reached the highest echelons of government and academia. The revelation sparked intense public outcry, raising fundamental questions about the ethics of state-sponsored research and the dangers of unchecked power. Today, MKUltra serves as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty and disregard for human rights in the pursuit of knowledge and power. As the Church Committee's report was released to the public, the American people were shocked and outraged by the revelations about MKUltra. The scope of the program's abuse was staggering. Thousands of unsuspecting citizens had been experimented upon, subjected to physical and psychological torture, and manipulated into carrying out tasks against their will. The committee's findings sparked a national debate on the ethics of government-sponsored research and the dangers of unchecked power. One of the most disturbing aspects of MKUltra was its use of unwitting subjects. Many participants were ordinary citizens who had been recruited under false pretenses, or had been forced to participate by their employers or the military. Some were even coerced into participating in experiments without their knowledge, with researchers injecting them with LSD or other mind-altering substances without consent. The CIA's use of these methods was not only morally reprehensible, but also scientifically unsound. Many of the experiments were poorly designed and lacked proper controls, leading to inconsistent and unreliable results. Despite this, the agency continued to push forward with its research, ignoring warnings from within about the dangers of using such tactics. One of the most infamous MKUltra experiments involved the use of LSD on unwitting participants. In 1953, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb and his team conducted an experiment in which they administered LSD to a group of students at Stanford University without their knowledge or consent. The students were then monitored as they went about their daily activities, with researchers observing and recording their behavior. The results of the experiment were shocking. Some participants exhibited extreme anxiety and paranoia, while others became violent and aggressive. One student even attempted to kill himself after being administered a high dose of LSD without his knowledge. These experiments sparked widespread outrage when they became public, leading many to question the ethics of government-sponsored research. As the truth about MKUltra began to emerge, the CIA faced growing criticism from Congress and the American people. In 1974, President Nixon ordered the declassification of all MKUltra documents. but it would take another year for the full extent of the program's activities to become public knowledge. In the aftermath of the Church Committee's report, several high-ranking officials were called to testify before Congress about their involvement in MKUltra. Harold Wolff, the neuroscientist who had worked with Gottlieb on mind control techniques, was among those who testified. However, his testimony only served to raise more questions than answers, as he claimed that he had been working under orders from his superiors and knew nothing about the program's true purpose. The MKUltra scandal led to a series of reforms aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future. The CIA was stripped of its authority to conduct secret experiments on American citizens, and Congress passed legislation requiring the agency to obtain approval from lawmakers before conducting any research that could. Despite these reforms, many questions remain unanswered about MKUltra's true purpose and the extent of its activities. Some researchers have suggested that the program may have been used as a front for more sinister operations, such as assassinations or covert operations. While there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, they underscore the lingering sui slurians about the CIA's involvement in MKUltra. As we reflect on the MKUltra scandal today, it serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting human rights. It highlights the need for transparency and accountability in government-sponsored research and the importance of questioning authority when faced with morally questionable activities. The legacy of MKUltra continues to haunt us, serving as a warning about the darker aspects of human nature and the potential consequences of our actions when driven by ambition and a desire for power. As the years went by, the MKUltra scandal slowly faded from public attention, but its impact on the nation's psyche lingered. Many Americans were left wondering how such egregious abuses could have occurred without anyone knowing about it. The government's attempts to cover up the program only added fuel to the fire, sparking outrage and distrust among citizens. One of those most affected by MKUltra was a woman named Suto. In 1952, Suto had been working as a typist at the University of Michigan when she was recruited for an experiment on mind control techniques. What followed was a series of coercive and manipulative treatments that left her traumatized and suffering from what would later be diagnosed as post-traumatic stress disorder. For decades, Suto kept quiet about her experiences, fearing ridicule or retaliation. But in the 1970s, she finally found the courage to come forward, testifying before Congress about the MKUltra program's abuses. Her testimony was a powerful expose of the human costs of the government's actions, and it helped raise awareness about the need for accountability and transparency. Sutu's story was just one of many. In the aftermath of the Church Committee's report, hundreds of documents were released, detailing the scope and breadth of MKUltra. Many of these documents revealed that the program had involved not only unwitting participants, but also intentional experimentation on vulnerable populations, including children and mentally ill. The revelation sparked outrage among civil liberties groups, who argued that the government had engaged in a gross abuse of power. In response, Congress passed several bills aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future, including the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and the National Security Act's reforms to the CIA. Despite these reforms, many questions about MKUltra remained unanswered. What was the true purpose of the program? Who had initiated it? And what were their motivations? These questions persisted, fueling conspiracy theories and speculation about the government's actions. In 1995, a group of researchers from the University of Michigan conducted an exhaustive review of MKUltra documents, using new technologies to analyze previously classified information. Their findings were striking. They uncovered evidence that suggested the CIA had not only been experimenting on unwitting participants, but also using these experiments as part of a larger program aimed at controlling. The study's lead author, Dr. Science, Catherine Schultz, revealed that the MKUltra program had involved an astonishing range of techniques, from hypnosis and sensory deprivation to LSD and other hallucinogenic substances. The researchers found that many of these techniques were being used not for research, but also as tools for psychological warfare, to manipulate human behavior, suppress dissent, or even induce amnesia in unwitting. Schultz's study sparked new interest in the MKUltra scandal, with many wondering if the government was still experimenting on citizens today. While there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, the lingering doubts serve as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting human rights. As we reflect on the legacy of MKUltra, it's clear that the program represents a dark chapter in American history, one that serves as a warning about the potential consequences of ambition, greed, and the pursuit of power. The story of MKUltra reminds us of the importance of questioning authority and holding those in power accountable for their actions. But what happened to the individuals who were involved in the program? What did they learn from these experiments, and how have they contributed to our understanding of human psychology? In the next part of this documentary, we'll explore the lives and legacies of some of the key figures involved in MKUltra. Men like Sidney Gottlieb, Frank Olson's colleagues, and even Barbara Suterhurst will examine their perspectives on the program and its impact on their lives, and reflect on what these stories can teach us about the human condition. The year was 1953, and the world was a vastly different place. The Cold War was in full swing, with the United States and the Soviet Union locked in a battle of ideologies and espionage. Amidst this climate of tension and sui slurian, the Central Intelligence Agency began to secretly explore the realm of mind control. What they uncovered would lead to one of the darkest chapters in American history. At the helm of this clandestine endeavor was Sidney Gottlieb, a soft-spoken chemist with an unassuming demeanor that belied his role as one of the most influential figures in the CIA's covert operations. Gottlieb had joined the agency in 1951 and quickly made a name for himself as a master of unconventional warfare. His particular area of expertise was the manipulation of human behavior through chemicals, a field he approached with an almost scientific detachment. Under Gottlieb's guidance, the CIA established a clandestine project codenamed MKUltra. This would become the umbrella program under which countless experiments were conducted on unwitting Americans, often using vulnerable individuals as test subjects without their knowledge or consent. The objectives of these experiments ranged from inducing amnesia to developing techniques for extracting information through psychological manipulation. One of Gottlieb's closest collaborators was Dr. Ewen Cameron, a Canadian psychiatrist with a reputation for radical views on the human psyche. Cameron had made groundbreaking discoveries in the field of hypnosis and was eager to explore its potential for mind control. Together, Gottlieb and Cameron set about recruiting patients for their experiments at Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, many of whom were struggling with psychological trauma. Mary, Jane, and Donald are just a few names among hundreds who became unwitting participants in MKUltra's sinister plans. Their stories paint a disturbing picture of the agency's disregard for human dignity. Mary was a married woman from Boston who had suffered severe anxiety attacks after being involved in a car accident. She began attending Cameron's sessions at Allen Memorial Institute, where she received experimental treatments that included hypnosis, electroshock therapy, and administration of powerful. Gottlieb himself would later recall the project's emphasis on testing the limits of human psychology. "We were pushing the envelope," he remembered. "We wanted to find out what was possible." Meanwhile, a young man named Frank Olson had just been recruited by the CIA for its top-secret experiments. A 37-year-old scientist working at the Army's Fort Detrick laboratory in Maryland, Olsen had been experimenting with biological warfare agents when Gottlieb approached him about joining MKUltra. The promise of greater research opportunities and a hefty salary proved too enticing to resist. However, Frank Olsen soon found himself immersed in the project's darkest corners. On November 28, 1953, he was administered a cocktail of psychoactive substances at a CIA safehouse outside New York City. Gottlieb had been present during the experiment, observing with interest as Olsen descended into psychosis. The following day, Olsen disappeared from public records. It wasn't until 3 days later that his body was found near a riverbank in upstate New York. The official explanation was that he had jumped to his death in a state of altered consciousness, but many would question this convenient narrative for years to come. Sidney Gottlieb's own life became increasingly entangled with MKUltra as the project grew in scope and secrecy. His personal style remained understated, but those close to him noticed a growing detachment from the world around him. He was like a scientist who had discovered something incredible, observed a colleague, but knew he couldn't share it with anyone. Years after the MKUltra experiments came to light, Gottlieb would attempt to distance himself from their most egregious. He cited his commitment to uncovering new knowledge as justification for his role in the project. Yet, some wonder if this explanation merely masked a deeper complicity in human experimentation. One of the most fascinating figures within MKUltra's was Robert Maxwell, a former naval officer turned intelligence operative with an uncanny ability to manipulate events from behind the scenes. Maxwell had entered the CIA as part of its fledgling psychological warfare branch and quickly earned Gottlieb's trust through his expertise in clandestine operations. Maxwell played a key role in recruiting vulnerable subjects for MKUltra experiments, often using psychological manipulation to entice them into participating. One case involved a woman named Susan Ford, whose troubled past made her an attractive candidate for Cameron's radical treatments. As with Mary and Jane before her, Susan would eventually break free from the Institute's clutches, but not without sustaining long-lasting psychological trauma. It was Robert Maxwell who oversaw many of these experiments in the field, coordinating between Gottlieb's lab at Langley and various sites across North America. His meticulous attention to detail made him an invaluable asset within the MKUltra hierarchy. However, as public scrutiny intensified following revelations about human experimentation, Maxwell began to fall out of favor with his superiors. He was eventually accused of mismanaging funds allocated for the project and forced into early retirement in 1967. Sidney Gottlieb continued working under the veil of secrecy, ever vigilant to protect MKUltra's legacy from prying eyes. His reputation as a master manipulator earned him both admiration and revulsion within CIA circles. As one colleague candidly recalled, Gottlieb was a man who could charm the devil himself into doing his bidding. The full extent of Gottlieb's role in human experimentation would only become clear decades later, when declassified. For now, as one former CIA operative recalled, "We all knew what was going on, just didn't think it was that bad." Years after the curtain had fallen on MKUltra, the agency attempted to downplay its involvement. However, for those who endured its darkest corners, the subjects, the participants, and even some of those involved in its design, this narrative would never suffice. Forgotten History daily delves into the complex web of relationships within MKUltra's shadowy realm. At its core lies a tale of loyalty, deception, and curiosity that pushed ethics to the breaking point. This is their story, one that speaks volumes about humanity's capacity for both darkness and resilience in the face of unspeakable horrors. The agency's experiments have left behind an enduring legacy of secrecy, with echoes that reverberate to this very day. For Mary, Jane, Donald, and countless others, the scars will never fully heal, serving as a haunting reminder of what happens when power and ambition converge without constraint. As we delve into the shadows of MKUltra's sinister past, It is crucial to acknowledge both the bravery and the vulnerability displayed by those who faced its darkest corners. Their stories serve as a poignant testament to human resilience in the face of unconscionable treatment. Sidney Gottlieb's involvement would come under increasing scrutiny over the years. His final appearance before the Church Committee hearings on CIA abuses in 1975 marked one of the most dramatic moments of his life. Under intense questioning from Senator Thomas Eagleton, Gottlieb struggled to defend the ethics of MKUltra's methods. Eagleton, 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 Eagleton. Gottlieb, I must ask you directly, were the subjects informed about the nature and purpose of these experiments? Gottlieb, I must ask you directly, were the subjects informed about the nature and purpose? They were given general explanations. Eagleton, general explanations. Eagleton, general explanations. Eagleton, general explanations. Eagleton, general explanations. How does that fit into your agency's commitment to transparency? In 1994, Gottlieb would confess his involvement in MKUltra during a deposition before the Presidential Commission on CIA activity. At age 73 and having spent decades protecting his legacy, he revealed his role as the chief architect behind these atrocities. The veil of secrecy surrounding MKUltra slowly began to lift after Richard Helms, the outgoing CIA director, ordered an investigation into alleged human experimentation in 1975. As investigations unfolded, Gottlieb's connection to the project was confirmed through internal documents and witness testimony. Those who have explored the shadowy corners of MKUltra, researchers, journalists, and former participants alike, often express a mix of emotions. Sadness at the extent of human suffering inflicted during these experiments. It's here we pause, caught between an unwavering commitment to revealing the truth and a desire to confront the darkest aspects of human nature. For Sidney Gottlieb and his colleagues, MKUltra served as a means to advance the frontiers of scientific knowledge, however misguided their methods may have been. Others saw it as an abhorrent exercise in mind control. One fundamental question remains unanswered. What drives individuals like Gottlieb to push boundaries at any cost? In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the United States once again found itself grappling with counter-terrorism measures that would eventually raise uncomfortable parallels between MKUltra and contemporary questions about accountability and oversight in these areas persist. We return now to the story's core. Sidney Gottlieb, a man whose actions on behalf of his nation left an indelible mark upon history. In the shadows of CIA heads at Langley, he watched the unfolding events with interest, ever the scientist, ever the master manipulator. And then there was Frank Olson, the unwitting participant who slipped from our grasp in 1953, leaving behind a mystery that would haunt us for decades to come. What happened during those 3 fateful days? The autumn of 1953 was a tumultuous time for Sidney Gottlieb and his MKUltra team. The CIA's Operation Midnight Climax, a subsidiary of MKUltra, was in full swing, using prostitutes and hypnotic techniques to lure unsuspecting men into the agency's clutches. Meanwhile, back at Fort Detrick, the Army's biological warfare research facility, experiments with LSD were gaining momentum. Gottlieb had ordered the importation of a large stash of the hallucinogenic substance from Sandoz Pharmaceuticals in Switzerland. As MKUltra reached its zenith, the lines between reality and manipulation became increasingly blurred. Gottlieb, convinced that he was on the cusp of unlocking humanity's deepest secrets, continued to push his research to their limits. But some participants began to question the ethics of these experiments, raising concerns about consent and control. One such individual was Frank Olson, a pathologist who worked for the Army Special Operations Division at Fort Detrick. On July 26, 1953, Olson received an injection of LSD-25 in his coffee by CIA operatives as part of an MKUltra experiment designed to gauge the effects of the substance. For the next 3 days, Olson would endure unimaginable terror and confusion. Olson's descent into madness began almost immediately after the injection. Initially, he experienced heightened anxiety and paranoia, complaining about the presence of microorganisms in his coffee and accusing Gottlieb of poisoning him. Over the course of several hours, his behavior became increasingly erratic, screaming fits, violent outbursts, and desperate pleas for help. By nightfall on July 26, Olson had spiraled into complete chaos, smashing furniture and shattering glassware as he careened around his hotel room. The CIA agents monitoring him were horrified by the extent of his breakdown, but Gottlieb remained unfazed, convinced that this was just another data point in their research. The following morning, with Olson still under the grip of LSD, a team of CIA operatives staged an intervention at the hotel, attempting to calm him down and extract a debriefing. Inexplicably, they also injected him with an antidote, supposedly a sedative, which would only serve to further destabilize his fragile mental state. As news of Olson's tragic fate began to trickle out in the coming weeks, the CIA moved swiftly to contain it. They issued hasty denials and downplayed the extent of their involvement, while Gottlieb and his team scrambled to cover their tracks. But rumors persisted, fueled by Olson's wife, Jane, who was convinced that her husband had been murdered rather than simply accidentally administered a lethal dose of LSD. When investigators probed deeper into the circumstances surrounding Frank Olson's death, they uncovered evidence of deliberate deception and obstruction of justice on the part of the CIA. The repercussions of MKUltra and its connections to Olson's tragic fate would ultimately lead to a series of congressional hearings and lawsuits that would haunt the agency for decades to come. As we delve deeper into this labyrinth tale, one truth becomes increasingly clear. The horrors inflicted upon Frank Olson were not isolated incidents, but rather symptomatic of a larger institutional rot. The next chapter in our story takes us back to Sidney Gottlieb's sanctum at Langley, where we find him wrestling with his conscience amidst the shadowy intrigues of MKUltra. Did he genuinely believe he was unlocking humanity's greatest secrets? Or had he crossed a threshold from scientist to megalomaniac? The more questions we ask, the more elusive our answers become. And so we continue to probe the depths of this sordid tale, entangled in the web of Gottlieb's making. The revelations about MKUltra sent shockwaves across the globe, exposing a clandestine program that had been secretly manipulating the minds of unsuspecting Americans for over a decade. It was 1975, and the story was finally beginning to unravel. Senator Frank Church's Committee on Intelligence Activities had stumbled upon documents detailing the CIA's experiments in mind control, sparking an investigation that would shake the foundations of American politics. As news of MKUltra spread, public outcry reached a fever pitch. The American people demanded answers about the extent of government experimentation and the potential harm inflicted on their fellow citizens. President Gerald Ford responded by ordering an immediate halt to all secret research involving human subjects. It was too late for some, however. The damage had already been done. Sidney Gottlieb, the chief architect of MKUltra, would later admit that his team's methods were questionable at best. They had dabbled in LSD and other hallucinogens to manipulate personalities, erase memories. The results were often chaotic and disturbing. Those who participated, whether willingly or not, suffered long-term psychological consequences that would haunt them for years. MKUltra was just one piece of a larger puzzle, a decades-long series of government-funded experiments aimed at perfecting the art of mind control. Other programs like Bluebird, Artichoke, and MK Delta shared similar goals, often with equally dismal results. These clandestine operations operated under the radar, fueled by fear and paranoia about the Soviet Union's alleged manipulation of American minds through hypnosis and brainwashing. As investigators dug deeper, it became clear that MKUltra had far-reaching implications beyond individual participants. The agency's meddling in human behavior threatened the very fabric of democracy. People began questioning whether their government was capable of safeguarding their rights and freedoms, or if they were merely pawns in a larger game. One notable figure to emerge from the MKUltra saga was Dr. Sir Ewan Cameron, a Canadian psychiatrist who had received significant funding for his research at McGill University's Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal. His experiments involved inducing trance-like states in patients using a combination of electroconvulsive therapy and other techniques, then administering powerful psychoactive substances. Among Cameron's subjects was Frank Olson, an American Army scientist working on biological warfare projects. In 1953, Olson participated in one of Cameron's MKUltra sessions, receiving LSD without his consent. The effects were catastrophic. Within hours, he suffered a complete breakdown, and 6 days later, he died under mysterious circumstances. His family would only later learn the truth about their son's involvement with the CIA. MKUltra was not simply a story of individual abuse, but also a symbol of broader societal problems. America's post-war psyche was reeling from the trauma of World War II and the Korean conflict. Fear of communism, coupled with Cold War hysteria, created a perfect storm for government overreach into citizens' private lives. In 1976, President Ford signed Executive Order 11905, which prohibited any future secret experiments involving human subjects. But by then, many questions remained unanswered, leaving behind a trail of unresolved issues and untold suffering. Fast forward to the present day, it's difficult to overstate MKUltra's ongoing relevance in American society. The legacy of this program continues to shape contemporary debates about surveillance, national security, and individual freedoms. Modern-day scandals like NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden's revelations and allegations surrounding CIA renditions have resurrected concerns about government overreach into citizens' personal lives. As technology advances, the potential for new forms of mind control and manipulation through data collection and social engineering grows exponentially. MKUltra serves as a stark reminder that even in democracies, power can be abused when secrecy and paranoia prevail. This cautionary tale highlights the importance of transparency, oversight, and accountability, fundamental principles upon which democratic societies are built. The long-term consequences of MKUltra are multifaceted and far-reaching. They touch on issues like informed consent, psychological trauma, and the ethics of scientific research. A 2016 Senate report found that many government agencies continued to experiment with mind control methods, even after Ford's executive order, often without proper oversight or consideration for human rights. In response to these findings, many have called for greater scrutiny of intelligence agency activities and more comprehensive regulations on human subjects research. Some advocates have pushed for laws protecting citizens from government experimentation, citing MKUltra as a precedent for cautionary legislation. MKUltra is not just an historical footnote, but a living reminder that the line between progress and can be perilously thin. As we navigate our increasingly complex world, where governments collect vast amounts of data on their citizens and advanced technologies allow for unprecedented manipulation, it's essential to revisit this dark chapter. By examining the events surrounding MKUltra, we gain insight into the delicate balance between individual freedoms and national security. We realize that while progress may be necessary, it must always be tempered by a deep respect for human rights and dignity. The tale of MKUltra stands as a testament to the enduring importance of truth, accountability, and the pursuit of justice. Principles that should guide us in our collective efforts to build a more compassionate and just society. As we delve deeper into the world of MKUltra, it becomes clear that the CIA's experiments were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a larger web of covert operations. The agency had been involved in various forms of mind control research since the 1950s, using techniques such as hypnosis, LSD, and sensory deprivation to manipulate subjects' thoughts and behavior. One of the key figures behind MKUltra was Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist who headed the CIA's Technical Services Division. Gottlieb was instrumental in developing many of the mind control methods used by the agency, including the infamous Bluebird project, which aimed to create a truth serum capable of extracting information from subjects. Gottlieb's obsession with mind control led him to experiment on unwitting citizens, using LSD and other substances to alter their perceptions and behaviors. The CIA also recruited a number of unwitting participants for these experiments, including students, hospital patients, and even terminally ill individuals. Many of these subjects were subjected to extreme psychological trauma, including forced hypnosis, electroshock therapy, and isolation. The CIA's use of LSD as a mind control agent is particularly disturbing. In the early 1950s, the agency began experimenting with the psychedelic compound, injecting it into unsuspecting subjects in an attempt to create hypnotic suggestion or brainwashing. The one such subject was a woman known only as chloramine. In 1953, Gottlieb administered LSD to chloramine, who was then subjected to hours of interrogation by CIA agents. According to records, the woman reported feeling a sense of disconnection from reality and experiencing terrifying visions. After the experiment, she was never seen or heard from again. The MKUltra program also drew upon the work of renowned psychologists such as Carl Jung and Aldous Huxley, who had been experimenting with the use of psychedelics in psychotherapy. The CIA saw great potential in these methods for creating a new form of mind control, one that could be used to manipulate individuals on a mass scale. As we explore the dark recesses of MKUltra, it becomes clear that the line between science and exploitation was often blurred. Many of the experiments were carried out with little regard for human subjects' rights or well-being, and the CIA's use of coercion and manipulation to obtain participants' consent serious questions about informed consent. In 1975, a Senate committee led by Senator Frank Church conducted an investigation into MKUltra, revealing widespread abuse and misconduct within the program. The Church Committee's report concluded that the CIA had engaged in proper and unlawful activities, including experiments on unsuspecting citizens and potential assassination plots against foreign leaders. The MKUltra scandal marked a turning point in the history of intelligence gathering, leading to increased oversight and regulation of government agencies involved in human subjects research. However, many questions remain unanswered, and concerns about government overreach continue to this day. In recent years, declassified documents have revealed further details about MKUltra's activities, including experiments on military personnel, prisoners, and even children. The revelations have sparked renewed calls for greater transparency and accountability within the intelligence community. As we reflect on the legacy of MKUltra, it is essential to acknowledge the profound psychological trauma inflicted upon those subjected to these experiments. Many survivors continue to suffer from the effects of their participation, including PTSD, depression, and anxiety disorders. In a haunting echo of the past, modern concerns about government surveillance and data collection have reignited fears of mind control and manipulation on a massive scale. The notion that our thoughts, behaviors, and even actions can be monitored and influenced by unseen forces is a chilling reminder of the MKUltra era's darkest excesses. The story of MKUltra serves as a poignant reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting human rights and dignity in the face of technological advancements. As we navigate this complex world, where data collection and social engineering become increasingly prevalent, it is essential to remember the cautionary tale of MKUltra, a stark warning against the abuse of. One of the most disturbing aspects of the MKUltra program was its willingness to experiment on vulnerable populations. Prisoners, in particular, were targeted as test subjects, with some researchers using their participation as a bargaining chip to obtain favors or lighter sentences. The use of prisoners in these experiments raises serious questions about the ethics of coercion and exploitation. As researchers delved deeper into the MKUltra archives, they uncovered evidence of experimentation on military personnel, including soldiers and sailors. These individuals were subjected to various forms of psychological manipulation, including sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and even LSD-induced psychosis. The goal was to push the boundaries of human endurance and develop techniques for interrogating enemy combatants. But the most shocking revelation emerged from documents detailing experiments on children. Researchers at some institutions claimed that administering small doses of LSD or other substances could treat behavioral problems in young patients. This was a gross misapplication of psychiatry, bordering on child abuse. These experiments not only disregarded medical ethics, but also ignored the fundamental rights and dignity of these innocent subjects. The Church Committee's report highlighted the extent to which MKUltra's activities blurred the line between scientific research and outright espionage. Research often working in tandem with other government agencies or military units, creating an environment conducive to clandestine operations and covert experimentation. This blurring of lines has serious implications for national security, as it raises questions about the accountability of intelligence agencies and their actions on American soil. The MKUltra scandal also exposed deep-seated problems within the CIA itself. Leadership failed to provide adequate oversight or supervision, allowing agents to operate with impunity. As the agency's director at the time, Richard Helms, later admitted in testimony before Congress, "I did not know of these experiments." This assertion strains credulity given the scale and scope of MKUltra's activity. Despite ongoing efforts to uncover the truth about MKUltra, there are still gaps in our knowledge. The CIA has yet to release thousands of documents related to the program, fueling speculation that further revelations may be forthcoming. Many surviving participants have come forward with stories of trauma use, but their voices often go unheard or dismissed by an administration eager to downplay its involvement. In the years since MKUltra's exposure, there have been attempts to redefine its legacy as a pioneering effort in scientific research, or even a testament to American ingenuity. Some argue that the program laid groundwork for modern advances in psychology and neuroscience. However, this sanitizing narrative oversimplifies the horrific experiences of those subjected to experimentation. A more accurate assessment recognizes MKUltra's dark and troubling consequences: psychological trauma, exploitation, and disregard for human rights. The CIA's attempts to cover up its actions speak volumes about an institution that has consistently prioritized secrecy and accountability. In this regard, MKUltra serves as a sobering reminder of the need for transparency in government and the importance of protecting citizens from abuse. Today, with governments around the world grappling with data collection, surveillance, and the implications of artificial intelligence on human behavior, MKUltra's lessons are more relevant than ever. While some modern technologies hold promise for improved lives, others caution against succumbing to an overzealous enthusiasm for technological advancements at the expense of individual freedoms. As we continue to grapple with these complex questions, it is crucial to acknowledge the past and heed its warning. Unchecked power, coupled with advances in science and technology, can lead down a slippery slope. The shadows of the Cold War cast a long and sinister influence over the world, but few secrets were as dark and insidious as MKUltra, a clandestine CIA program that sought to harness the power of the human mind. It was 1953 when Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist with the Central Intelligence Agency's Technical Services Division, began secretly developing this operation. His goal: to create the perfect spy, capable of manipulating others, controlling their thoughts and actions, like a puppeteer controlling his marionette. In the early years, MKUltra was shrouded in mystery, known only to a select few within the CIA. But as it gained momentum, it attracted the attention of other government agencies, including the FBI and the US military. The project's proponents believed that by exploiting the boundaries between mind and body, they could develop new methods for interrogation, psychological warfare, and even assassination. At first glance, MKUltra seemed like a far-fetched dream of science fiction writers, but Gottlieb was convinced that with enough research, he could unlock the secrets of human psychology and create an army of super soldiers capable of executing tasks beyond the limits of ordinary humans. To achieve this, he enlisted the help of some of the most brilliant minds in America. Dr. Ewan Cameron, a Scottish-born psychiatrist from McGill University, Dr. Cole Rogers, a renowned psychotherapist, and Dr. Gregory Bateson, a leading expert on behaviorism. These pioneers of psychology were given free rein to experiment with various techniques, including hypnosis, electroshock therapy, LSD, and sensory deprivation. The most vulnerable subjects, often unwittingly so, were those who sought help for mental health issues or participated in clinical trials under false pretenses. In many cases, patients were subjected to gruesome experiments without their knowledge or consent. Cameron's laboratory at McGill was a key testing ground for MKUltra. Under the guise of treating patients with severe mental illnesses, he conducted experiments in sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and even electroshock therapy. These treatments often left subjects catatonic, unable to respond to their names or surroundings. Many reported experiencing strange visions and hearing disembodied voices. Some claimed that Cameron had attempted to erase their memories, while others described being subjected to sleep learning techniques. In one particularly notorious incident, a Canadian woman named Mary Shelley was subjected to 16 days of continuous sleep deprivation by Cameron's team. Her goal: to induce a state of hypnotic trance in which she would become amenable to suggestions and conditioning. But the treatment had disastrous consequences. Shelley developed schizophrenia-like symptoms and spent several years institutionalized. As MKUltra expanded, its methods became increasingly barbarous. In 1958, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb authorized an experiment involving LSD, a powerful hallucinogenic compound that had just been synthesized by Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann. Unbeknownst to the patients, they were being given massive doses of the substance as part of a mind control program. Many reported experiencing intense anxiety and paranoia. Some claimed to have seen visions of hellish torture chambers. MKUltra's reach extended far beyond academic circles, however. The CIA began working with industrial psychologists like J.P. Guilford, who experimented on employees at Stanford Research Institute. Other unwitting subjects included students from prestigious universities, including MIT and Harvard, as well as military personnel undergoing training for special operations units. As the years passed, MKUltra continued to grow in scope and audacity. By the early 1960s, it was estimated that over 1,000 Americans had been subjected to some form of mind control experimentation, often without their knowledge or consent. But what exactly did these experiments entail? What kind of information were the researchers seeking to extract? One intriguing area of study focused on sleep learning, where patients were taught subliminal messages while in a state of deep relaxation. Proponents believed that this could facilitate rapid assimilation of complex data, but critics argued it was merely a form of mass hypnosis. Another dark aspect of MKUltra involved its connections to the US military and law enforcement agencies. Army intelligence officers were allowed to join the project, lending their expertise in interrogation techniques and psychological warfare. In some cases, this collaboration led to the development of new methods for extracting confessions from prisoners, using tactics that would be considered barbaric by modern standards. As MKUltra continued to unfold, it also attracted unwanted attention from within the government itself. Some officials began questioning the ethics and legality of these experiments. By 1963, President John F. Kennedy had ordered a secret investigation into MKUltra, fueled in part by public concerns over CIA activities. But as with many dark chapters in American history, the full truth about MKUltra would remain hidden for decades to come. Only through dogged persistence from investigative journalists and congressional committees did the extent of these atrocities become known. In 1975, a Senate committee led by Frank Church conducted hearings into CIA abuses, including MKUltra. Sidney Gottlieb's involvement in MKUltra was eventually exposed, but he would later claim that his work had been misunderstood and that his ultimate goal was to develop a form of truth serum to aid interrogations. However, documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act paint a far more sinister picture, one of mass experimentation on vulnerable Americans without their knowledge or consent. In 1977, the Church Committee released its findings, concluding that MKUltra had indeed involved human experiments in mind control techniques. The revelation sparked widespread outrage and calls for accountability from Congress. But despite these efforts, many questions remain unanswered about this still mysterious chapter in American history. Who were the countless Americans subjected to MKUltra's darkest secrets? What happened to those who survived their experiences? And what exactly was the CIA seeking to achieve through these sinister experiments? Today, as we reflect on the shadows of our collective past, it is clear that MKUltra represents one of the most egregious examples of government overreach and disregard for human rights in modern history. The legacy of this dark chapter serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers when scientific inquiry is allowed to trump ethics and compassion. Yet, even as we confront these uncomfortable truths, there exists a certain irony. For early B's uncomfortable truths, there exists a certain irony. Free Sidney Gottlieb's pioneering, his pursuit of mind control may have been misguided, but it also contributed to advancements in our understanding of human psychology. As we close this somber chapter on MKUltra, we are left with more questions than answers. How many more secrets lie hidden within the labyrinth-forward corridors of government agencies and academic What further revelations will future investigations uncover? One thing is certain. As we navigate the complex web of truth and deception that defines our history, it is crucial to confront the shadows, no matter how dark they may be. Only through confronting these secrets can we ensure that such atrocities never recur, and that the human rights of Americans are protected from exploitation by those entrusted with their power. And so, as the curtain falls on MKUltra's sinister tale, we remember the countless individuals who suffered at its hands, men and women whose lives were forever changed by the pursuit of a government gone rogue. Their stories serve as a testament to human resilience in the face of unimaginable cruelty, and a reminder that even in the darkest corners of our past, there lies hope for redemption and justice. In the silence that follows this narrative, we are left with one final thought. Can we ever truly escape the shadows of our collective past? As we reflect on the tragic events of MKUltra, it's essential to examine the context in which these experiments took place. The early 1950s were a time of great anxiety and fear. with the Cold War escalating and the threat of communism looming large over America. In this atmosphere of paranoia, the CIA and other government agencies felt justified in exploring unconventional methods for controlling human behavior. Sidney Gottlieb's involvement with the MKUltra program began in 1951, when he joined the CIA as a chemist. Initially, his work focused on developing truth serums and other chemical agents to be used in interrogations. However, as the years passed, Gottlieb's research increasingly shifted towards mind control and behavioral modification. One of the most disturbing aspects of MKUltra was its use of unwitting subjects. Participants were often unaware that they were part of a government experiment, or even that the experiments themselves were taking place. Some were recruited through advertisements or other means, while others were coerced into participating under false pretenses. One such case involved a woman named Karen Ostrander, who in 1955 was working as a typist at the University of Washington. Unbeknownst to her, she had been administered LSD by Gottlieb and his team without her consent. The results of this experiment were catastrophic. Ostrander began experiencing terrifying flashbacks and anxiety attacks, which plagued her for years to come. As MKUltra's scope expanded, so did its network of researchers and participants. Universities, hospitals, and pharmaceutical companies became entangled in the web of government-sponsored experimentation. It is estimated that between 1950 and 1964, over $20 million was spent on MKUltra research, a staggering amount considering the secrecy surrounding these projects. Yet, despite the devastating impact of these experiments, there were those who saw promise in the work being done at MKUltra. Some researchers believed that, with proper controls and oversight, these techniques could be used for therapeutic purposes, or even to enhance human performance. The blurred lines between scientific inquiry and ethics became increasingly evident as Gottlieb's team continued to push the boundaries of what was deemed acceptable. As we delve deeper into the labyrinth corridors of MKUltra, it becomes clear that this was not an isolated incident. Rather, it represented a symptom of a broader issue: the willingness of governments to manipulate and exploit human subjects in pursuit of perceived national interests. In 1975, the Church Committee hearing shed light on many of these secret programs, including MKUltra. These revelations sparked widespread outrage and calls for greater oversight and accountability within the intelligence community. The fallout from these hearings led to the creation of new regulations governing human experimentation, but it's questionable whether sufficient measures were taken to prevent future abuses. Today, as we look back on the dark legacy of MKUltra, we must acknowledge both its tragic consequences and its potential contributions to our understanding of human psychology. Sidney Gottlieb's work may have been misguided, but it also laid the groundwork for advancements in psychoactive medications and other treatments that benefit society. As we navigate the complex web of truth and deception that surrounds these events, we are reminded of the importance of confronting our collective past. By facing these uncomfortable truths head-on, we can ensure that such atrocities never recur, and that the rights of all Americans are protected from exploitation by those entrusted with their power. The story of MKUltra serves as a stark reminder that scientific inquiry must always be tempered by ethics, compassion, and accountability. In our ongoing quest for knowledge, let us not forget the victims who suffered at the hands of those seeking to manipulate them, nor the warning signs that should guide us towards a brighter, more just future. As we conclude our examination of MKUltra, the CIA's clandestine mind control experiments, it becomes increasingly clear that the boundaries between science, ethics, and morality were repeatedly pushed. The project, launched in 1953 with a budget of $300,000, was ostensibly aimed at harnessing the potential of psychedelic substances for military applications. However, as we've seen, the true nature of MKUltra involved far more sinister pursuits, manipulating unsuspecting individuals, often against their will, and subjecting them to procedures that were today the agency's researchers, including Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, seemed more interested in exploiting the human mind than in protecting its well-being. The trail of evidence points to a culture within the CIA that prioritized secrecy over accountability, allowing agents like Dr. Counties. The trail of evidence points to a culture within the CIA that prioritized EUN Cameron to indulge in unorthodox and inhumane experiments on unwitting subjects. These included hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and lobotomy, a medical procedure once hailed as revolutionary, but later widely discredited. One of the most disturbing aspects of MKUltra is its connection to real-life victims. There's Patty Bergman, whose experiments were documented by a journalist in 1977. Barbara Seldon, a woman who was given LSD without her consent and spent years suffering from mental health issues. The MKUltra program remained largely secret until the early 1970s, when it was exposed by investigative journalist Carl Bernstein. By then, thousands had been affected, and many more likely remain uncounted. The revelations sparked widespread outrage, leading to congressional hearings in 1977 and reforms aimed at preventing such abuses in the future. As we reflect on these events, we're left with a haunting question. What does it reveal about our society when the pursuit of knowledge and national security are allowed to override basic human rights? We've seen how easily authority can be abused, even by those entrusted to protect us. Today, as we continue to grapple with the complexities of mental health, surveillance, and the limits of scientific inquiry, we do well to remember the lessons of MKUltra, that true progress is often achieved not through exploitation. The story of MKUltra serves as a stark reminder of the darker aspects of human nature. While it's tempting to view these experiments as an aberration, a product of a bygone era, there are disturbing parallels between the events of the 1950s and 60s and contemporary issues. The CIA's disregard for individual rights and consent has echoes in modern-day debates over national security and the limits of scientific inquiry. One of the most enduring legacies of MKUltra is its impact on the field of psychology. Ewan Cameron, a renowned psychiatrist who conducted experiments at McGill University's Allen Memorial Institute, was a key figure in developing techniques for psychic driving. This involved subjecting patients. While some have argued that Cameron's work laid the groundwork for modern psychotherapy, others point out that his methods were essentially a form of psychological torture. The use of LSD in MKUltra experiments also raises questions about the intersection of science and ethics. Sidney Gottlieb, who oversaw much of the program, has defended the use of psychedelics as a means of exploring the human mind. However, many experts argue that the agency's willingness to experiment with powerful psychoactive substances on unsuspecting individuals was reckless and irresponsible. As we delve deeper into the history of MKUltra, it becomes clear that the CIA's actions were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a broader culture of secrecy and experimentation within the intelligence. The agency's researchers often operated in a grey area between ethics and law, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable in pursuit of their goals. The human toll of MKUltra is impossible to quantify, but estimates suggest that thousands of individuals were involved in experiments over the course of several decades. Many of these people remain unidentified, their stories lost to history. Others, like Patty Bergman and Barbara Seldon, have spoken out about their experiences, serving as a testament to the lasting damage inflicted by the program. The congressional hearings held in 1977 marked a turning point in the public's awareness of MKUltra. Testimony from individuals who had participated in experiments provided first-hand accounts of the suffering and trauma they endured. The hearings also exposed the extent to which government agencies had been complicit in the program. with some officials attempting to downplay or cover up their involvement. In the aftermath of MKUltra, there were efforts to reform the intelligence community and ensure that such abuses would not recur. However, critics argued that these reforms fell short, allowing similar programs to continue under different names. The use of behavioral modification techniques in interrogation practices, for example, raises concerns about the ongoing exploitation of human subjects. Today, as we confront the complexities of mental health, surveillance, and scientific inquiry, the story of MKUltra serves as a cautionary tale. It reminds us that even the most well-intentioned research can go awry when pursued without regard for ethics or accountability. By examining this dark chapter in our history, we may yet learn valuable lessons about the importance of compassion, understanding, and the protection of individual rights. The MKUltra program may have been a product of its time, but its impact continues to resonate today. As we navigate the challenges of modern society, we would do well to remember the stories of Patty Bergman, Barbara Seldon, and Frank Olson, individuals whose lives were forever changed by the actions of those By acknowledging this history, we may yet find a way forward that balances our pursuit of knowledge and security with the fundamental human rights that make us all deserving of dignity and respect. As the congressional hearings drew to a close in 1977, a new chapter in the story of MKUltra began to unfold. In the years following the revelations about the program, several key figures involved in its development and execution would be called to account for their actions. One of these individuals was Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the chief architect of the MKUltra program. As the CIA's Technical Services Division, Gottlieb overseen the development of many of the experiments conducted under the MKUltra umbrella. In a series of interviews and depositions, Gottlieb would later admit to the use of LSD and other psychoactive substances in his research, as well as the recruitment of unwitting subjects for experimentation. Gottlieb's testimony was just one piece of a larger puzzle that began to emerge in the late 1970s. As investigators dug deeper into the MKUltra program, they uncovered evidence of widespread abuse and misconduct by government officials and private contractors involved in the research. One notable example was the case of Dr. Donald Heffernan, a psychologist who had worked on several MKUltra projects. In 1981, Heffernan would plead guilty to charges related to his involvement in the program, including the use of unwitting subjects for experimentation with psychoactive substances. The fallout from MKUltra also led to significant changes within the CIA and other government agencies involved in intelligence gathering. The 1977 Senate report on MKUltra had recommended a range of reforms aimed at preventing similar abuses in the future. These included greater oversight and accountability, as well as stricter guidelines for the use of human subjects in research. However, critics would later argue that these reforms fell short, allowing similar programs to continue under different names. In 1983, a Senate subcommittee led by Senator Ted Kennedy would investigate allegations of continued MKUltra-style experimentation by government agencies. The committee's findings suggested that some elements within the intelligence community had learned from the mistakes of MKUltra, but were still engaged in questionable practices. One practice was the use of behavioral modification techniques in interrogation and detainee management. This approach involved the systematic manipulation of an individual's psychological state to extract information or compliance. While often touted as a valuable tool for counter-terrorism efforts, critics argued that this approach risked undermining human dignity and basic human rights. The legacy of MKUltra would continue to haunt the intelligence community for decades to come. As policymakers grappled with the implications of this history, they were forced to confront fundamental questions about the limits of government power and the importance of protecting individual rights. In recent years, as concerns about surveillance, mental health, and scientific ethics have grown, the story of MKUltra has taken on a new significance. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of transparency in research practices. For Patty Bergman, Barbara Seldon, and other survivors of MKUltra, this legacy is deeply personal. Their experiences continue to inspire advocacy for greater accountability and oversight within the intelligence community. As they speak out about their histories, they hope to prevent similar abuses from happening again, not just for themselves, but for all those who may be vulnerable to exploitation by power. The story of MKUltra is a sobering one, full of lessons that continue to resonate today. By confronting this dark chapter in our history, we may yet find a way forward that balances our pursuit of knowledge and security with the fundamental human rights that make us all deserving of dignity and respect. In 1975, the committee, also known as the Senate Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with respect to intelligence activities, published its final report. This exhaustive investigation into government surveillance, infiltration, and experimentation revealed a shocking array of clandestine activities carried out by US intelligence agencies. The committee's findings not only implicated the CIA in MKUltra, but also exposed other disturbing programs, including Operation Chaos, which involved domestic spying on anti-war activists and civil rights. The Church Committee's revelations sparked a renewed public outcry and led to significant reforms in the way government agencies handled intelligence gathering and experimentation. However, for many survivors of MKUltra, these reforms came too late. For them, the scars of their experiences would linger for decades, serving as painful reminders of the government's willingness to sacrifice human dignity in pursuit of its objectives. One such survivor was Barbara Seldon, a talented musician who had been recruited by the CIA at age 19 to participate in their experiments on LSD and hypnosis. Decades later, Seldon would come forward with her story, revealing the lasting impact of MKUltra's effects on her life. "I'm not sure I've ever fully recovered from what they did to me," she recalled in an interview. "The trauma was so severe that it took me years to overcome my fear of being controlled or manipulated." Seldon's experiences were far from unique. Many other survivors reported similar experiences, including feelings of disorientation, memory loss, and a deep-seated sense of betrayal. For some, the memories of MKUltra came flooding back with the use of certain medications or in response to stressful events. As researchers began to study the long-term effects of MKUltra on its participants, they discovered that many had developed severe mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. The trauma inflicted by these experiments was not limited to individuals, but also extended to their families and loved ones, who struggled to cope with the aftermath. In the years following the Church Committee's report, efforts were made to provide compensation and support to MKUltra survivors. In 1995, Congress passed the Intelligence Authorization Act, which included a provision for reparations to victims of government-sponsored experimentation. However, many advocates argue that this legislation did not go far enough in acknowledging the depth of suffering experienced by those affected. Today, as we continue to grapple with issues surrounding national security, surveillance, and scientific ethics, the story of MKUltra serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power. By examining this dark chapter in our history, we are reminded that even in the pursuit of knowledge and security, there must be limits placed on government agencies to prevent abuses like those perpetrated during MKUltra. For survivors like Patty Bergman and Barbara Seldon, their experiences continue to inspire advocacy for greater accountability within the intelligence community. By sharing their stories, they hope to ensure that similar abuses are never repeated, not just for themselves, but for all those who may be vulnerable to exploitation by power. In the words of Patty Bergman, "The government took away my innocence and my sense of security. Speaking out, I want to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else."